So I'm 1000 Beats. My real name is Cian, and I'm a producer. I'm an artist producer from Ireland here in my home music studio in the middle of the night. Well, it's not the middle of the night, it's 12 o'clock. I'm up this time
Yeah.
anyway. Uh, yeah, in a city called Cork, which is the second city in Ireland. And yeah, my story is I started off as a professional musician, as a session musician. So I actually toured all across America. I've been in, I think, 46 states or something like that. I've been everywhere
Oh,
except Hawaii, Alaska, and I don't think I've been in Wyoming.
okay.
But I've been pretty much everywhere else. And then but the whole time I was doing that, all I wanted to do was produce. And I started producing for other people and I started writing songs for other people. And then I came up with this idea called 1000 Beasts, which is where I have my own project and I collaborate with different people on every release. And they are the beasts. That's the idea.
Oh, you answered another question. I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you that. I was like, what is
Yeah.
1000? That is super interesting. Now I also wanted to know more about the creative process with On a Different Page, because I also realized that they're all different singles, but then like you basically combine them in the EP. So
hmm
how was like the creative process in a sense?
It's actually really interesting because as 1000 Beasts started off, I started off writing songs with different people. And happened before that, I had released like a handful of singles. I probably released 5 or 6 singles before this EP on their own, and they were all one-offs. But what my big challenge was before coming into this EP was there was no like consistent 1000 B sound, I felt. Even though other people told me that, but because I was like working with individual artists, a lot of the time it would be very much the sound of the person I was working with that was coming through in the song. So what I did around about like a year ago, maybe, I like acknowledged this and was like, what can I do to fix this? Or not fix it, because it's not a problem, but I was like, I want the project to have a clear identity. And I just started making loads and loads of instrumental beats, like loads. So I have a folder full of like instrumental beats. And then I started sending them out to people that I wanted to work with, or if anybody like, if there was any opportunities coming up. And then some people like I'd send them 5 beats and they'd want to do all five. And I'm like, sweet, that's great. And some people I'd want to do stuff with and they wouldn't like any of the beats. And I'd be like, that's cool. Let's leave it and I'll send you some more stuff in a couple of months' time. And if there's anything that tickles your fancy, sweet. But let's not do it unless we find something, because that way I found that the people I'm collaborating with from the get-go are very involved in the track and invested, and then they can add their magic to it, but it still has like the 1000 beats sound. So I do a lot of writing for other people too and producing for other people. That's a very different process because I might just go into the room and we might have nothing and I'll just sit down at the piano or I'll sit down at the laptop, start making a beat, and that can go in any direction. Whereas when I'm like sitting at home and I'm making my 1000 beats and then sending them out, there I know they'll always end up being a kind of cohesiveness to them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
that's the process.
The song Because of April really like mind boggled me, because I'm listening to it. I like in all seriousness, I was listening to it and I was just like walking around like in my kitchen, blah blah, and next thing you know I hear the beat change. I'm like, I turn around and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to like know how that also like kind of came about in a sense, because it was like, it was really interesting. It's a crazy interesting songs, and it was just like, I need to know more.
About just how that process happened, or like what the inspiration behind it?
The inspiration, definitely the inspiration.
Um, I have a lot of like I have a degree in like classical music. If that's what it stands like to be, like a proper music degree, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think um it's funny, like a lot of my instincts are always to be like orchestral or like very high contrast. Um, And I actually think I'm like, as time goes by, I'm doing less and less. I'm getting more and more minimal. But a lot of like the from when you come from like a classical piano world or whatever, music is very, very, very dynamic. Like 1 minute it's like way up here and then it's way down here. And a lot of the music that's in the world at the moment, it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's much less dynamic. It's much more static. Um, and with that song, that was with a girl called Laura Elizabeth Hughes. And I had the really minimal thing, and I listened to loads of uh, like Tiesto, I suppose, when I was like 14, and like really real Dutch trance housey stuff.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have an explosion at the end of it basically. And I wanted to lead you into this really beautiful, like somber, melancholic journey for 3 or 4 minutes. And I hint at it halfway through. There was like a little bit of a hint on it that it's coming, but it doesn't come through until that moment. And you have this, the lyric is, the silence is beating down as I'm watching you go. The silence is beating down as I'm watching you go. The silence is beating down as I'm watching you go. And then boom, and it explodes. And the whole song is mixed very quietly up until that point too. So when it does come, it's meant to like kick you right in the eardrums. It's just like, whoa, where did that come from?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't listened to it in so long. You caught me out because like that song is old. That song is really old. That was
No,
a long
yeah.
time ago. I
I
must have
just
another
had
listen
to.
to
I
it.
had to. I was just so invested in it. It literally, it's funny because the other day I was watching some meme that came out of like these two guys listening to Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight.
Yeah,
Or
that's a really good idea, a reference. We don't get songs like that as much anymore.
right, exactly.
We
Like I know
really
Flume
don't.
also has like a beat change one. Why
Well,
am I
he's
thinking
loads of
about?
them.
Yeah, of course.
He's murder for it. Like, but like a lot of the streaming stuff and a lot of the pop songs and stuff don't do it. I think it's because of like, I mean, this could be really cynical to say, but it's like, the kind of songs now feel like they have to give you everything in like the first 20 seconds, you
Yeah,
know, because people's attention spans are so short and stuff. Whereas like Phil Collins knew if it was going to be played on the radio, you're going to wait like 4 minutes because you know it's going to be good. And that's music that's made for live as well. Like if you've dramatic music, it works so well live.
right.
Whereas for streaming, people just kind of want something that sounds good from the get-go.
So what I also wanted to know was the cover arts. I found them pretty
Yeah, the cover arts are class. Yeah, that's Kieran. I got so uh again, going with collaboration, I have to give a big shout out to a guy called Kieran Colestock who did all that for me. I've known Kieran a while and we kind of wanted to work on something for ages, and he has quite a distinct style. Um and he's so talented, and I kind of approached him before Christmas and was like, look, I want to do this EP, and I was like, there's going to be a lot of singles on it, and I want the singles to all have a consistent artwork. So like we mapped out a few things, and I don't know if you noticed, they all have like tears or pieces of paper on them. That like the idea is that it was going to be a sketchbook of ideas, so that's why every single piece of artwork has paper on them or whatever. And then you notice that the name of the EP is on a different page, which is a lyric from one of the tracks, Le Marais, as well. So like there was that idea that each track would be like, each cover art would be a different color first of all, and then like a different color theme, and then that they would kind of each be like part of the different page chapter. But yeah, it was funny. We had like some photos. The idea was we'd take some photos and then he would kind of edit them in a specific style, and that would kind of create a theme. But the lockdown happened halfway through the entire thing, so like I have a photo with Lenny like for waistcoat, but then the rest of them is just like I was basically walking like half a mile outside my house and being like, oh God, I hope I can find something like cool here, just
yeah.
taking selfies or getting my friend to take a photo and like sending it to Kieran and being like, please come up with something. But everything he came up with, it was so good, so I was like, fair play, Kieran.
But how has been the quarantine or lockdown?
Really creative, really creative. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely fine. Yeah, I've like when we it feels like ages ago now. When was it? March. But I've done
It
so
does feel
much.
like
I have
ages.
like I have another album. I have an album ready. I have another two EPs pretty much ready to go. Straight after. So I work pretty quick and I work pretty fast, and I have met some like, I knew as we started releasing music off on a different page that I would like meet more people that I wanted to collaborate with and reach more people who would discover Thousand Piece and want to get involved. And so that just means like there's more and more great people that I want to work with or that I am working with, and those songs will be coming out. But yeah, I have 13 tracks probably ready to go. So we'll probably split it into like two more EPs maybe. We'll see. I'm actually trying to figure it out at the moment. I mean, this is very honest, but like
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out because like I have a remix of a really great track that I want to put out of another artist, and then I have some acoustic versions from the last EP that, so I'm definitely going to put out like one at least, but then I also have this EP thing, and I'm trying to figure out what we'll do and which ones to put out next. And yeah, I really like the momentum of like putting out something every like 6 to 8 weeks, and I really feel like it kind of connects, and like people just kind of connect, and there feels like the tracks have a kind of a direction, And as I keep releasing more and more people kind of see that. So I definitely don't want to stop. But music is so easy to make nowadays because of the internet. And with the lockdown, like everything, you're just like, you have nothing else to do. So there's no distractions. So before lockdown, you're kind of worried about doing this and that, and you have to be here and yada, yada, yada. And then lockdown happened. It was like, all I can do is really just make
Right.
music. So I'm just going to make
Right.
music, you know?